All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Braves 4-game series, as well as all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of games during the regular season. For those of you who are watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff. And if you feel like you're being ignored, you're not being ignored. You're just going to be starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant reactions after every single regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly Postgame. And for our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day of recording. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into our show, episode number 147. And there is a lot that has happened over these past 4 days. We have had a lot of drama. We've had a lot of frustration, some success. It has been a roller coaster, especially these last 2 weeks, obviously. And let's just say baseball has not been kind to the Mets these last few weeks. And we'll get into all of that. But Frank, you are here. I don't know how we're going to unpack all of it because there's a lot to go through, but this has definitely been a crazy sequence of events, reminding me a little bit of last year where it was a roller coaster throughout the entire season and we were sweating it out to 162. That's what it's looking like at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, it's constant back and forth between Mets and Phillies, who's in first place. You know, we know the National League East is going to be tight. And I still think the Braves are going to continue to be even better and still have something to say about this division by the time it's all said and done. I mean, they've gained quite a bit of ground with the head-to-head matchups with the Mets, but we'll kind of see where it shakes out. But I think more so just the way we've seen the Mets have to use more than 30 pitchers, and we're not in July yet, says a lot about the way the season has gone. And now with the latest news, you only starting pitcher you have who's not been on the injured list that was in the opening day rotation, projected opening day rotation, is David Peterson. Every single one these other guys have in the rotation. That's even if you anticipate a 6-man rotation. Still, all of them have had long stints on the injured list that we're talking about. Not just a guy missed a start or two. It's like no, this player's out for months, and now you have guys out for the season. Like, this is just the way it has been. It's been very unfortunate, especially the way they're happening. I mean, you just have like routine plays, and a guy looks like he's about to start jogging. It's just, he ruptures his Achilles. It's like, how? The guy barely moved. How do you rupture your Achilles by like almost walking? I mean, that's how slow he was going. It's just absolutely crazy the way you see stuff like this happen. But unfortunately, it's a part of sports. It really stinks, but this is where they're at. So, you know what? If there was one guy who could try to figure out using a million different pitchers and gain the most out of them, it is David Stearns. I mean, I think yesterday was a perfect example. You have a guy like Warren coming into pitch, and you've just seen a lot of guys you weren't really expecting to see, and yet you still throw a shutout. You're yet still in first place despite all of that. So I feel like with a lot of that kind of stuff, that's where having David Stearns at the top, you're able to overcome it, because we've seen previous Met teams. I mean, obviously the 2015 era Mets where you had those young, great starting pitchers, but they always got hurt. They weren't able to overcome that because like once those guys went down, you're done because the bullpen is not going to help you. Like that was it. But now you've just seen so many different guys step up that they've been able to stay afloat, and the offense, the power has increased. The runners on base is still hit or miss, most of the time miss, but overall, they've really just still been able to find a way to piece it together. So, I mean, that's been the tough part about it. And it's like, how many arms will they go through when it's all said and done? I mean, that's what I'm really curious about.
We'll see what happens there. But obviously they've been able to stay afloat so far, even though they've not been playing the best baseball in the month of June, but they've been able to stay afloat. You really wonder, down the stretch of the season, how long is this actually going to hold up, especially with the sustainability of just transferring arms from AAA Syracuse to the majors every single day. It seems like there's a transaction every single day, and I feel like I'm drafting up about
Multiple
7 different
transactions
versions
a
of
day.
this news and
Like
transactions.
a lot of times it's multiple. Like you see like 2
It's
pitchers
multiple,
called up and 2 sent down. Like it's like a whole big mix up. And a lot of times like they get called up, they get used that same day they get called up and then gone the next day. Like it's literally just like this revolving door of guys coming in and out. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's been basically it's just been a one and done type of thing, obviously, especially in the bullpen with the arms that they have needed from some of the blow up starts of the starters not going as long as they have been at the beginning of the season. But also with the fact that they've had a few long men go down as well. I mean, Max Kranick went down with an injury. We know there's been some overworking of Huskar Brazaban. Budo started to, grab his footing recently. But, they're also trying to look at some of those bulk guys as well. Brandon Waddell has done a solid job for us in those long relief outings. We saw Austin Warren, like you just said, and he was just optioned down to Syracuse. I mean, they're just playing this thing day to day of who's available, who's not dead, whose arm has bullets in it, and who doesn't. And if you don't, you're going down to AAA Syracuse, and that basically just shows how much this starting rotation is hurting, and it's not going to get any better with the injury that we just had last night, which I do actually want to get into and give a little bit of specifics of what has been going on. So for anybody that was left in the dark and was not watching last night, and you're wondering what is the freak out over the Mets starting rotation for today, because there's been plenty of freak out this year, Griffin Canning has suffered a significant injury while he was on the mound last night. He exited last night's game in the 3rd inning due to a non-contact leg injury, and he ended up experiencing pain and instantly after landing awkwardly, coming off the mound, attempting to cover first base. The diagnosis has come out that he has a ruptured left Achilles, and he has been placed on the 60-day injured list, and he is likely, very likely, 100% out for the remainder of the 2025 season. So the Mets rotation takes once again another hit. Kodai Senga is currently on the injured list. He'll probably miss maybe 1 or 2 more turns through the rotation. You have Sean Manaea, who's been on the shelf throughout the entirety of the year, who will eventually come back, but it's been definitely a slow process. He's had quite a few setbacks. Blackburn just coming back from an injury. Montas will get into his debut of what he did in the first game of this series, which seemed like, or the second game of this series, which seemed like so long ago with the events that have been going on. And then you have Tyler McGill out as well. I mean, we've taken quite a bit of hits to this rotation, but there is one thing that is assuring, and I do think that I do agree with you on that, where you said, obviously the Mets were not able to recover from having pitchers going down as much as they have. This time I do have trust that David Stearns will figure it out to piece the innings together. Will he replace the sub-3, sub-2, sub whatever earn run averages? No, but he'll find a way to fill in those innings, and that's what he's been continuing to do every single day with those transactions, multiple. But Frank, I mean, just a heartbreaking injury last night to Griffin Canning, who is coming off of a season last year, as we all know, was one of the worst pitchers, if not the worst pitcher in all of baseball. And he was having a quality year. And to show you how great of a value signing this was shown as, I mean, he signed for $4.25 million already this year. Fangraphs has him at $7.2 million for the worth his entire season. So he was getting in line for a really good payday. But it's just that's just basically just how the dice rolled for him last night, and just gut wrenching. Let's just say that it was just really, it was rough to watch. Those visual injuries are never fun to view as a sports fan, whether you are rooting for the team or rooting against the team or just watching in neutral. It's just not fun to watch. Injuries just suck.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see a guy laying on the ground and they can't really walk on their own power, I mean, you know that's already a big concern. And like you said, for Griffin Canning, he got off to such a great start this season that was unexpected. And then he started struggling in his most recent starts. But then last night, he was looking good again. So I was hoping that he was getting back on track. And like you said, maybe put together that really solid bounce back season for him. But now season's over and you don't really know what the future holds for him. So you feel for Canning himself for sure, but I mean also for the Mets, it's like, oh well, you know what? Griffin Canning's not really expected to be a big piece for this team because it's like, oh well, you have Senga and you have Manaya and you bring in Montas. Like they've got plenty of pitchers, but then when you're like, wait a minute, everyone's hurt. You kind of really needed Canning at this particular moment in the season. So to lose him too when you already have a few other guys out, it just makes everything more difficult. You know, now with the corresponding move, Blade Tidwell is up here, and just overall, the Mets made like nine transactions today with all the guys that they sent down and released and signed to minor league contracts. Like there was just so much happening. I mean, today and this whole week that it's kind of hard to keep track of like who's here and who elected free agency and who's in AAA now and who's, you know, like there's just been so many different things happening both on the position player side today, but all week with the pitching. You have the rotation changing, the bullpen is constantly changing. So a lot of times, like you don't even know who the last man in the bullpen is because it's somebody different every day. So it is going to be interesting because with Blade, it's another one where he's now filling in for Canning. But if these other guys come back, well, then what happens with Blade? So it's been this constant thing with so many different guys coming in and out that really, like I said, David Peters has been the one guy who's been there the whole season. And good thing he's been pretty good this season outside of his last start against Philly. But, you know, other than that, it's at least he's been healthy because everyone else has just been going down. And, you know, I agree with Daniel. It's like I wonder if the Mets just do something to kind of get some reinforcements because if you've already used over 30 pitchers, like you need somebody. Yeah. And once again, this isn't an ace. It's just an innings eater. Because like you said, with all these injuries, you're just trying to get innings, quality innings if possible. So you just need someone that routinely and starts goes late into games because Canning was a guy that only went 5 in a lot of his starts. Anytime he went 6, he would blow up. And same thing with Holmes. I mean, he's a guy that throws a lot of pitches. You maybe get 5 out of him. So now you're trying to piece together Blackburn, who's not going deep into games. So, and like you said, once that happens, then the bullpen gets overworked. You see Braziman not as effective and Buteau and some of these guys. So it's just like it's a trickle-down effect. What happens to one guy affects the rest of the team, and especially in this kind of part of the season and this most recent stretch of games they've had, so many games consecutively, no off days. It's like you need these pitchers rested, and it's hard to do that when you're not getting much length from the starters. And when you already were in that situation and your starting pitcher goes down the 3rd inning, it just makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, it really has become a situation where they are trying to just survive to a point of the season because when you're looking at it right now, because again, I know that everybody wants to put in, you know, to press the panic button and everything, but there's not really a panic button to press as of right now because, again, you're about a month away from the trade deadline. There's not really much traction as to where you can just be like, oh, well, this guy went down. Well, let's trade for Sandy Alcantara right now, and let's trade for this guy, trade for that guy. There really isn't much moving as of right now, and it's going to be looked at as a huge asset panic move in that way. If it gets even worse than it is now, I don't even know why I just said that because the Mets will take that as a challenge. But I mean, the Mets are going to have to make some decisions of how they're going to have to form this thing together. And that is something that has been emphasized by David Stearns, where it's not really the best pitchers, but we know that if they are called upon, they could give you a quality outing. There's been a few blowups. You're going to have a few blowups. That's basically baseball. It happens. But overall, you have had a lot of guys come in here and piece together the innings. It really has not been, oh, well, who's in our starting rotation for the playoffs? We're not worried about that as of right now. It's all about, okay, who's not dead, who's alive, who can go out there, who's got bullets, who doesn't. And that's basically how they've kind of looked at it. But I mean, I feel for Griffin Canning. I really do. It seemed like he was also having a really good time in that clubhouse throughout his entire time here. Obviously, him being on a 1-year contract, it's very, very likely that he has thrown his last pitch as a Met, unless there is some other way that he comes back here. The ruptured Achilles, it looks like for stable recovery, it's about 4 to 6 months of recovery for that, and then there's obviously the rehab of him breaking up. So it's definitely basically 99.9% possible that he is done for the season. And it's definitely a big blow to this rotation, even though we did not expect it to be a big blow at the beginning from where we are now. But he's been very big in this rotation, eating innings, giving us quality starts, and he's definitely worked hard to make those adjustments. And he pitched very well, and he was one of the keys as to why the Mets pitching was doing so well to start off the season. And we're gonna have to go without him for the rest of the year, which definitely sucks. It really, last night, I think that, one of the hardest things, obviously, is to play after witnessing an injury like that. But I think that, Austin Warren deserves a lot of credit for what he did last night, because it really is, hard to come in here when come back into the room when an explosion happens and try to settle everything down. I mean, when Griffin Canning went down, the air was taken out of Citi Field. Like it was silent. Like nobody's there. For him to come in there, give you a quality outing. He got 7 outs or whatever. Pitched great. He was very, very quick. He gave us length out of the bullpen. He did what he needed to do to finish off what we wanted from Canning. And he did a really good job. Obviously, the reward he gets is option down to AAA Syracuse, because that's basically it. You're out of bullets. You're gone. But he did a really, really good job. I think his family was in attendance as well. So again, I think it really, again, in that dugout, we know that there is a lot. There is a lot of different, looks from a lot of dugouts, and we know that they really, we know that this is a tight knit Mets group, but you could really tell that it was something that was really rough, because of the body language in that dugout, and it was definitely rough. But the Mets were able to get the win from that and get the split in this series, which I do want to get into, but they're definitely going to have to figure it out. Going to have to try and figure it out. And I think that it's at this point been established that a starting pitcher needs to be something in pursuit at the trade deadline with how much these guys are going down. There's some guys who are just coming back, but they're going to have to deepen this rotation at this trade deadline, especially with the amount of injuries they've gone to. If you want to add anything to that, it's just, at some point, I don't want to say, oh, well, we need an ace. We need a bona fide ace, but you need someone to stabilize the rotation. And down the stretch of the season right now, maybe they can hold up, but there's still plenty of games to go. We're 81 games in, 82 games in, still got 80 to go.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically at just about the halfway point, so you have to do it all over again while already having the workload on your arms. So, I mean, similar to your point where if Manaea is back and Senga's working his way back, you don't want to say to yourself, oh, you know what, we have enough pitchers at this current moment at the trade deadline. I mean, for me, you always want to plan ahead. You always want to be prepared for the second half of the season and going into the playoffs. So just because you have enough arms now technically to fill out a rotation does not mean that you have enough arms for the rest of the season, because you don't know what could happen. Because something like Canning, it's like, how could you predict that? How can you predict that? Like, he just moves a little bit, boom, out for season. Like, that's how sports is. That's how it goes. Like, at any moment, these guys could just be gone for the year. So you have to have other guys ready. And if that's depth pieces, if that's veteran pieces, that's totally fine. Like you said, it does not need to be an ace, but just needs to be someone who's here that could make starts for you to just get you through the year. And I think that seeing all these injuries that have happened, and now you're going to have a rotation at some point with guys who have missed months at a time, it is more important that you do have that 6-man rotation because you have guys who have already been injured. So it's like you have these guys probably already kind of sensitive, especially someone like Mania who keeps having setbacks. He's got the oblique, he's got the loose bodies in the elbow. Like he's got multiple things going on right now. I feel like for him, you'd want a 6-man rotation so he could just make it through the year. So like you said, I don't want to see them get complacent if all of a sudden they do find themselves more healthy towards the deadline because like, oh, well, we got our pitchers back. We're good. You have to be ready for anything because the Mets took that approach a few years ago with DeGrom. They were like, oh, well, Jake's going to be back. Our rotation's going to be fine. And then shortly after the deadline, DeGrom was done for the year. So you just never know what is going to happen. So you just have to be prepared for as many different scenarios that could pop up in a baseball season.
Yeah, obviously. The 162 games, huge window for things to happen. I mean, that's just basically how it is. I mean, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and there's been a lot of bad recently. And speaking of bad, let's actually get into this actually half bad because they did end up getting the split. But as I have a typo on here that is going to drive me crazy. But I will get into this one, obviously being a 4-game set. So there is obviously a lot to cover. We'll get into all of it as I am continuing to stall so I can change this typo that is driving me nuts and is going to hang over my head if I do not change it. All right. Can you load, please? All right. And we are good. Perfect. All right. There's not 2 I's in the word split, by the way, for anybody who is trying to learn the English language. So let's get into this 4-game set against the division rival Braves. And as for game 1, Paul Blackburn would make the start and fight through a lot of traffic into the 5th before being pulled with first and third with 2 out. Jose Butto would come in to finish the inning to close the book on Blackburn. 4 2/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts on 95 pitches. Butto would come back out for the 6th and tossed a 1-2-3 inning with a strikeout, down 3-0 after a 2-out walk. Brandon Nimmo. Juan Soto would launch his 17th home run of the year, a 2-run shot to get the Mets within a run. Ryan Stanek would come out for the 7th. He'd pitch a scoreless inning, working around a 1-out walk and 2-out single, but striking out 3. Reed Garrett would toss a 1-2-3 8th with 2 strikeouts, and the Mets would threaten in the 8th, getting the tying and go-ahead runners on, but Juan Soto would strike out to strand them. Edwin Diaz would toss a scoreless 9th, working around some base runners with 2 strikeouts, but the Mets would lack the big hit all night to fall short in game 1, 3-2. Game 2. Frankie Montas would make his 2025 debut. More on that later. He'd go 5 innings on a pitch limit, and with the bases loaded with 1 out, Jeff McNeil would get the Mets on the board with a sacrifice fly, following a 2-out walk to Luis Torrens, reloading the bases. Brett Beatty would add on with a 2-run single to give the Mets a 3-0 lead. However, this completely led to a full meltdown by the Mets bullpen in the 6th inning. Huskar Brazaban would walk 3 batters to load the bases and allow one of them to score on a sacrifice fly to cut the Mets lead to 3-1. Jose Castillo would inherit those runners, allowing both of them to score after an infield single and hitting the next batter. Nick Allen would plate the tying run on an RBI single, and Jose Castillo would exit, throwing just 8 pitches for Reed Garrett, who would get 1 strike away from keeping the game tied before surrendering a 2-run single to Matt Olson, putting the Braves in front 5-3. Richard Lovelady would come on in the 7th for his Mets debut. More on he would also pitch more. He'd toss a 1-2-3 inning, come back out for the 8th, but was not as sharp, allowing a 2-out walk followed by a RBI double by Matt Olson to extend the Braves' lead to 6-2. Danel Nunez would come on for Lovelady and allow his runner to score on an RBI double by Austin Riley, making it 7-3 Braves. Danel Nunez would come back out for the 9th and toss a 1-2-3 inning, and the Mets would rally a bit with a 1-out double by Jeff McNeil, followed by a pinch hit single from Jared Young. Ronnie Mauricio would make it a 3-run game with an RBI double, but with the tying run at the plate and 2 out, Francisco Lindor would ground out to second base to end the game, handing the Mets their 5th consecutive loss to Atlanta this season, 7-4. Game 3, Clay Holmes would make the start and manage around command issues all night, but the only blemish on his line would be a solo home run surrendered to Drake Baldwin in the 4th, which could have been the 2nd of the night, but Jeff McNeil would come to Holmes' rescue in the 1st inning, robbing Marcell Ozuna of a home run with an incredible leaping catch in center field. Holmes would end his day with 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts on 96 pitches. The Mets would open the scoring in the 3rd with Ronnie Mauricio's 3rd home run of the year, a solo shot to make it 1-0 Mets, tied 1-1 in the 4th. Juan Soto would give the Mets the lead with his 18th home run of the year, a solo shot. Pete Alonso would get hit by the pitch afterwards, followed by a double from Jeff McNeil. Starling Marte would add on with a sacrifice fly. Brett Beatty would plate another on an RBI single. Ronnie Mauricio and Hayden Senger would follow that up with singles to load the bases. Francisco Lindor would drive in another run with a sacrifice fly. And Brandon Nimmo would drive in the 5th run of the inning on an RBI single to give the Mets a 6-1 lead. Brandon Waddell would come out for the 6th and toss a scoreless inning, working around a walk and inducing a 6-4-3 double play. Jose Budo would get the 7th, and he would toss a scoreless inning with 2 strikeouts. Juan Soto would add on to the Mets lead in the bottom of the inning with his 19th home run of the year, his 2nd of the game, a solo shot to make it 7-1 Mets. Ryan Stanek would toss a 1-2-3 8th with 2 strikeouts, but Jonathan Pintaro would make his major league debut in the 9th. He'd struggle a bit, surrendering 2 earned runs on 2 hits and a walk, only getting 2 outs, forcing the Mets to bring in Edwin Diaz for the save. And Diaz would get the final out on 4 pitches to end the game and snap the Mets' 5-game losing streak against the Braves this season with a victory in Game 3, 7-3. And in Game 4, Griffin Canning would make the start and leave, and with 2 out in the 3rd inning would leave with an injury, as we just said. He'd exit with 2 2/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts on 36 pitches. Austin Warren would come in to finish the inning on 2 pitches thrown. Warren would come back out for the 4th and the 5th, retiring 7 of the 8 batters he faced with 2 strikeouts. The Mets would take the lead in the 4th after a leadoff walk to Juan Soto, followed by a long single from Pete Alonso to make it 1st and 3rd. Tyrone Taylor would get the Mets on the board with a sacrifice fly. The Mets would add on in the 5th after back-to-back one-out singles by Lindor and Nimmo. Pete Alonso would make it 2-0 Mets on an RBI single. Danel Nunez would get the 6th and 7th inning, retiring all 6 batters he faced, striking out the side in the 7th with a total of 4 strikeouts. After a 2-out single by Juan Soto and a double from Pete Alonso for his 3rd hit of the game, Jeff McNeil would give the Mets a 4-0 lead with a 2-run single. Ryan Stanek would toss a 1-2-3 8th on 7 pitches, and Edwin Diaz would finish it off, working around a 2-out single, striking out Marcell Ozuna to secure a 4-game split against Atlanta with a 4-0 shutout win. The Mets are 48-34 on the season, and with help from the Houston Astros over these past few days, they have taken back first place in the National League East, holding a half-game lead on the Phillies as we speak. Will it be the same tomorrow when the audio is out? Who knows? But we're going into Pittsburgh to find out. A lot to unpack with this series. I don't want to go completely in full-on depth because I feel like that would take about 2 hours. So obviously, main takeaways, and then we'll get into the studs and duds to wrap it up as best as we can, and then we'll move on. So Frank, some main takeaways obviously from this series. Crazy 4 days, like we said at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy 4 days because, I mean, at the end of the first 2 games, Mets are down 2-0 in the series, and that had been like 5 losses in a row to the Braves because of what happened last week. So you're like, oh my gosh, the Mets really can't beat this team. And then they get the 2 wins towards the end of the series. But I think overall, the bullpen meltdowns, that's something that has been a theme in this stretch of games, like these last 12, 13 games, so between the Tampa series both Braves series and the Phillies series, is where these teams against the Mets are having these like avalanche innings. So for the Braves in this case, it was that that 5 runs in the 6th inning, like those stuff like that, where the Mets are in a good spot. Like Montas is having this great start, gives up no runs, you're feeling good. And then it's like Brosman comes in, doesn't have, you got to go next guy. Castillo comes in, doesn't have to go next guy. Reed Garrett comes in, doesn't have to go next guy. Like the fact that you had so many different guys just to try to get one inning done, they couldn't do it. I mean, that inning, it felt like it took an hour just to get those 3 outs between all the pitching changes and everything like that. So that's something that definitely is frustrating, that like all of a sudden a fire starts and they're not able to put it out. That definitely has become a big thing, where it's just like these teams get a bunch of runs in one inning, in the middle innings, and then like the game's over because they just got so many runs in that one inning. So that definitely was very frustrating, because you like were happy that Montas had this good start. It was very unexpected because the way he was pitching in AAA, giving up like 8 runs, and his ERA was 12, and he was so bad the Mets weren't even sure to bring him back, but they had to because of all the other injuries. So I feel like to still lose that game definitely was frustrating. So I just think that, but the bullpen looked much better yesterday. So, I mean, that's the thing that's kind of frustrating too, is that you're seeing like 2 different sides of it almost, where it's like you see them be really bad or really good. And the Braves, I mean, they've continued to put out these really good starting pitchers the way that they aligned their rotation. I mean, the Mets missed Chris Sale this time around because he fractured his rib cage. I don't know if that has to do with throwing 117 pitches against the Mets to start.
I think it's when he nosedived into the field trying to make that incredible play against Nimmo.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens. I mean, you were going all out against the Mets, acting like it's the playoffs in the regular season in June, and now Chris Sale got hurt. But the Mets are lucky they didn't have to face him again, because Schwellenbach. I mean, how many times are they going to face this guy this year, and he's going to dominate, building off of last year. So I mean, they get away with the split, but like overall, that they could be better if they don't just have these like this one awful inning that ruins everything.
Yeah, it's really been quite a wave of, especially since that Rays series started. There's been like that one inning of a crooked number that just completely turns the course of the game. And sometimes it is from some guys in long relief. Sometimes it's from the guys that you've seen as reliable this year, who have been really, really good. And I think that's more of just the novelty of, the bullpen just being completely overworked, with the bullpen being, with the starting rotation taking as many hits as it is. And it's basically just showing you a bulk of reliever inconsistency, which I am not in full panic about yet. But however, I know that there's a lot of changes that need to be made down the stretch of the season with this bullpen. I don't know which ones it's going to be yet, but they are going to have to add in depth at least, so the roles are a little bit more shaved off for some of these guys. I'm looking at a guy named Huskar Brazaban, who has been worked like a dog all year. And the same goes for Reed Garrett, who we've had that issue with him last year of him being overworked as well. And obviously the injury to AJ Minter does not help with the back end of this bullpen, of course, with the overall consistency, which really, really does suck, of course, because Minter, again, a very big loss to this bullpen. So we'll see how they do form this together, because I do think that there are going to be some interchangeable moves made with the pitching staff. I don't think it's going to be the big splash that everybody wants, but I do think that they are going to make a substantial amount of moves as to where you get the pitchers in a situation where they're a little bit more comfortable, and they try to prevent the injuries from happening, even though you really, really can't, because it's the most injured position in all of sports. There's nothing you can do. There really isn't anything that you can do. The injuries happen, and this is why I say a pitching staff is a committee. That's literally it. It's not there's no rotations. Do not exist anymore, because rotations are things that go round and round and round. That doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Pitchers just get hurt, and that's what we were talking about last week, and that was what we were talking about last year. It's like get one guy that can stabilize this, and one guy that can. Where is he? Doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. Anybody says is an Iron Horse, they will end up just injured the next two weeks. In the next 2 weeks, it's just what happens. I mean, that's literally it. No one's the bona fide ace, the bona fide Iron Man. If we can clone Rich Hill and make him 10 years younger, we all would, because he seems to be the only guy who's figured it out to stay healthy, still is healthy, and still chugging along. But there's just nothing you can do. There really isn't, and that's what sucks about it. It always seems like the Mets are hit harder than anybody. But just injuries suck. They're a part of the game. That's literally it. And they're just going to have to go to the next man up. And the Mets' depth is definitely going to be tested. Now, for the offense, I do want to point out here, Ronnie Mauricio getting some really good swings in this series. He's looked a lot better. I don't know if it's, the competition or anything, or he's just adjusting. He's looked a lot better from the left side of the plate. We're still seeing a little bit of ugly. Great, a lot better of a series for Brett Beatty as well. And then obviously with Vientos coming back in Pittsburgh, as I'm sure we all know. And then, Francisco Alvarez in AAA. So those two kids, but the two kids that remain up here in the majors as of right now, and just survived another corresponding move with Jared Young just getting sent down after we've seen a lot of the young guys struggle this year. Definitely a key thing to see Brett Beatty and Ronnie Mauricio take a little bit of center stage on the bottom part of that above that lineup. We saw a lot of good from Juan Soto. Looks like Pete is starting to come around a little bit as compared to what we been seeing these last few weeks. The lineup, it's still stagnant. There's still inconsistencies there. Hopefully they figure it out. I'm hoping that the depth of the lineup helps a little bit with Mark Vientos back, but we'll see what happens there. But I do want to redirect this obviously to the studs and duds of this series, which is everybody's favorite segment. Best way to recap this one, which we probably should start doing it after we just recap the series, because it just makes a lot more sense to do that. But it's just basically the formula. Either way, Frank, I'll give it to you. Your stud in this 4-game set.
Yeah, you know what? There's one guy who's a pretty obvious choice because of the way he's played, not only this series, but really this whole month. I mean, he's been phenomenal, but I'm just going to go with someone. This probably be the one time he gets it. Give me Austin Warren. I think that, coming in with the circumstances of like you just got called up, you're coming in via injury, and he has to go, more than 2 innings and throw over 30 pitches, which is not really his game. I thought that was very impressive. No walks. I mean, you could give Nunez a stud here too. 2 scoreless innings with 4 strikeouts. I mean,
Stanek also had a good series too.
Exactly. Well. So it's like we talked about how the bullpen had that really bad game in game 2, but in this last game, I mean, they really were huge to get the Mets through it, and that was nice to see. But I think that combination of Warren and Nunez was awesome, and I really hope that Nunez is able to build off this outing because, like you said, with how this bullpen's been going, if they could get him to where he was last year, which maybe he's back on that track, that would be a big, big boost. I mean, because they need it. It's tough to get a reliever externally as far as like making a big trade for a reliever, but if you're able to do it internally, that's a huge key. So he was big for this team last year, and I'm hoping he could do it again because even though like Stanek was better in this series, overall it's not been a good season for him. I mean, he's had way too many blow outings. Yeah, and he's still, no matter what, kind of in that setup role. So it's like you want to have someone more consistent going to a Diaz because Diaz has been so good. You want to have like the guy that gets the ball to him also be very effective. And it's unfortunate that Diaz had to come into game 3 and he only threw the 4 pitches, but still it's like with that kind of lead, it makes everyone a little more tired when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, Austin Warren definitely, again, it's really hard to go into, into these situations. Like we always look for the fireman role of, Reed Garrett coming in with runners on, but Austin Warren took on the job of, okay, I'm coming into the game when a meteor just hit. Like that's what just happened because it was such a brutal injury that took out the starting pitcher, especially in the situation where they have so many starting pitchers on the injured list. And he was able to temper the situation, and they were able to throw up a 0 as well for the bullpen. So they did a really good job. But also this other guy did a really good job. And I think this is the second time that I'm putting him out here, and I don't like it. I'm about to vomit in my mouth. But Jeff McNeil had a phenomenal series in this game. He was in the middle of everything. That catch seemed to turn some momentum for this team in game 3, right? Game 3. And then, of course, some really good clutch hitting as well in this series as well. Looks like he's starting to come along a little bit more situationally. I still don't like him in that 5 hole, but, 6, 7, if he keeps hitting like this, when the lineup is a little bit more fully healthy, I got no problem with it if he continues to produce like this. And he had a really, really good series. Enough talking about this because I'm going to just vomit. I'm going to vomit up blood. To the dud category we go. Definitely some rough performances as well. Frank, I'll go back to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to give it to this guy, but I kind of have to, especially considering the circumstances. But Luis Torrens, I mean, he's been on like a for I don't even know what. He's just not looking like himself at all offensively. And I'm not saying Alvarez was better, but it was a whole lot of like, oh, you know what? This Mets offense is struggling, and it's Alvarez's fault. He needs to go down. Like, that's why they can't hit. And then it's like, okay, so Torrens gets to play, and then he just goes like, I don't even know what's happening with him right now. He shaved, and it didn't fix anything. So it would be nice to get something from the catcher position. I mean, Hayden Senja, he's had some nice foul balls. Like, he's hitting the ball hard. Yeah. It's just on the ground far.
And we did hit 17 foul balls. Like,
we had a lot of foul balls, but I think for Torrens, it's like you see that average, dipping below 220 now. And it's like, okay, well, he's great defensively, throwing wise. The fielding's not been as good as it was last year, but it has been noticeable that there is still that hole offensively at catcher. And it definitely is pretty frustrating when you have a team that has struggled to be consistent offensively.
Luis Torrens shaven looks like James McCann. That I'm not saying as a player, but like facially, that like because he's got the eye black right as well. It's James McCann. Does that not look like he looks like James McCann? And it spooked me, and that's probably the main reason as to why he's been playing like shit. So grow the beard back, man. This has been frightening. Huskar Brazaban, rough series for him. Obviously, he was in the middle of that big bullpen blow up in game 2. I'm not trying to completely because again, I think he's just completely been worked into oblivion. And I really do want to see him get multiple days of rest before he goes right back out there. But he was just all over the place. And it definitely brought into that snowball. Of course, you can put Jose Castillo in that category as well, who was just designated for assignment. That's another one. But again, the bullpen, hopefully they can build off of these last 2 games, even though there's been plenty of transactions going in and out of a consistent bullpen. Edwin Diaz as well seems to be returning to that form. Looks like Reed Garrett had a few good bounce back outings. Ryan Stanek had a good series. So, I mean, we'll see. This is reliever inconsistency, so I don't really take it completely to heart unless it's been a consistent craziness. But down the stretch of the season, of course, it's going to be something to monitor. But speaking of things to monitor and a spotlight that was kind of stolen, of course, by so much going on in this series, I want to get into Frankie Montas real quick because Montas made his debut for the Mets this series, and we had a we had a very low expectation, especially from what we were seeing in his rehab starts. Obviously, grain of salt. When you look at rehab starts, it's not all crazy. But it came to a point where you're like, okay, this is so awful that we're like, okay, $17 million a year to this guy. This is looking really bad as of right now. But it seems like he silenced the doubters, at least so far in that first start that he had. But I do want to give a little bit of a spotlight to what he was able to do in 5 innings, 3 hits, of course, 0 earned runs, 5 scoreless, like we've said, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, 9 swings and misses, 80 pitches, obviously on a pitch count, just coming back from injury. One thing that you can notice from the change that he has made, or if you don't even remember, the arm angle completely different. Completely. I mean, from 43 degrees last season to 71 degrees. He's going a lot more over the top. And with a high 90s fastball, of course, he's got a little bit of extra rise on that, and the induced vertical break that he has, it's about 16 inches, which is not that much, but he gives you a really, really good angle with a VAA that hovers around 4. And then, of course, the sinker, I mean, 3 different fastballs that he was throwing, the 4-seam, sinker, and cutter. Of course, not grading out the best, but he still was able to at least contact manage and locate well. It seemed like the command was a massive issue for him in those rehab starts. And he threw a first pitch strike to only 9 of the 20 batters that he faced. So he still was getting behind in the count, but he was getting a good amount of pitches in the strike zone. Now, in those 6 rehab starts, like we said, 8 home runs allowed combined in those, 18.2 innings pitched, 30 hits, 25 earned runs, 10 walks, 12 strikeouts. I mean, it was a mess for him in those minor league outings. I don't know what was going on there, but maybe he was just tinkering with some stuff. We know that he signed a 2-year, $34 million deal with the Mets in the offseason with a 26 player option. We'll see what happens in the future of that. But it was definitely an outing that we needed for definitely some promise. Who knows, what is in the future here for Frankie Montas going forward, because we've seen him be inconsistent throughout his entire career. But overall, it was a good start. It was impressive. 80 pitches, of course. We have some people in chat here saying, Daniel Cap saying Montas shocked everyone in his debut. I can definitely agree with that. But one thing I will say here is, obviously, with him coming back, obviously you have other guys going on the injured list now, but they definitely are looking for Montas as the second highest paid pitcher in this rotation to definitely take the reins and step up down the stretch of the season. So we'll see how it holds up, but definitely a good start, a good surprise compared to what we were getting from those rehab starts. And Frank, I think you can definitely agree. It was a lot better than we expected it would be, especially against a Braves lineup that was killing us for games on end to start off the year.
Oh, I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, and it's just crazy that the game he started and didn't give up any runs, the Braves finished the game with 7 runs. So it's just like, that's just the way it goes sometimes in baseball. And again, like to your point, shows how good he was, because he was going against a tough lineup that has given the Mets a lot of trouble for a lot of years. But for Montas, seeing him use the sinker quite a bit was good to see. It's not something he used as much last year, but it's something that he did use a lot in the past. So I wonder if they're trying to get back to where he had his success as far as, that being one of his key pitches. So, I mean, we'll see if they continue to tinker and try to find what kind of pitcher they want him to be and where he's most effective. So I'm intrigued to see kind of how it is going forward. He only gets the 5 innings. I think part of that was just to go out on a good note, since it was his first start of the season, but also just coming back from injury. You're not going to push him anything crazy. So it's what the Mets need to know, because like I said, outside David Pearson, they need somebody else that when they take the start, you're not saying necessarily have a guaranteed win, but you want to at least have a chance and feel like the game is close to where you just need a good swing here or there to win it. And that's really what it's about. Because with the contract they gave Montas, the expectation, even like you said, going into this start, our expectations were low because of how the rehab starts went. But going into the season, he had some level of expectations, because even though he struggled last season, he's seen as like a Luis Severino replacement. So if he's looked at as maybe your number 3 pitcher or number 4 pitcher, he still was projected as a guy who can make playoff starts for you. So if that's the case, he's got to be solid. So, I mean, they need a good version of Montas with the way they handled this offseason. Like we said, what happens at the deadline, maybe they get a better starter, maybe they don't. But if not, I mean, you really could use Montas to be a guy that is getting the job done for you and you could rely on when it comes down to it. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but it definitely was the way you wanted to start it off, because I was not feeling good based off how it was going. And it's just like when you see that happen, all the runs to give the minor leagues, like, okay, well, what's going to happen on the majors? Because even the Mets were hesitant. Like he got so many rehab starts, and it just, no matter what, he was still struggling. So we'll see what happens. And I mean, who knows? It's going to definitely be very interesting to see.
Yeah, we will see. I think the thing that you can really, put your finger on here with is obviously the Mets rotation needs the innings, of course, and Montas was expected to be one of those guys that gives you that, even though he does have the injury history. Now, what you were saying about the usage of the sinker, I do like that a lot better, obviously, because with Montas, the guy who throws as hard as he does, it's better in the sense of what they did with Luis Severino last year, of him more chasing outs than more of just swings and misses, which I think is something that is very important to go deep into games, obviously, and especially with, more of just trusting your defense with the lack of shifting in this game now. All of it goes hand in hand in that way. But it was a good outing for him. Didn't see that many uncompetitive pitches. He looked good. He really did. And as for the concerns that we had there, he definitely waved him away for a second. We'll see how he does against the Pirates. Obviously, I know that there's a little bit of PTSD in this situation with how good Paul Blackburn was against the Dodgers. I think Montas has a little bit more to apply than a guy like Paul Blackburn. And especially a guy like Paul Blackburn, for what he has been throughout his entire career. Montas has had a little bit more success than that, so I'm willing to take this as a win here, and we'll see how it elevates for the rest of the season. But they're definitely going to need him to step up. Clay Holmes is another one as well. The health of the rotation is definitely going to be focused in on for the next month, and as we continue to get guys back, of course. Some guys that are on the injured list right now, they're working their way back. And that brings us to a very, very, a very Frank-esque segment, or the report with Unk, as it's been coined in the chat before. But Frank, I will move it over to you for the injury report. Some substantial updates that we have gotten over these past few weeks. So the floor is yours.
Yes, substantial is right. So starting off with Sean Manaea, Mets starting pitcher, was shut down from throwing for 48 to 72 hours after his latest MRI revealed a loose body in his left elbow. The 33-year-old left-hander reportedly felt discomfort the day after his rehab start for AAA Syracuse on Friday. Manaea received a cortisone shot on Monday, and Mets president of baseball operations David Stearns clarified that they expect this to only set him back a couple of days. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza stated that Manaea will likely make his last rehab start for AAA Syracuse on either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how he feels. Manaea has been sidelined since the beginning of spring training due to a right oblique strain. Jesse Winker, Mets outfielder / designated hitter, will begin a minor league rehab assignment on Sunday for High A Brooklyn. Mets manager stated that Winker is expected to play a significant amount of games before rejoining the Mets lineup. The 31-year-old has been on the injured list since the beginning of May due to a right oblique strain he suffered while making a throw in left field. Kodai Senga, Mets starting pitcher, has begun throwing off a mound with some intensity and playing catch over the past week. Although there is no timetable at the moment, Senga believes that a rehab assignment is on the horizon. The 32-year-old right-hander was placed on the injured list on June 13th due to a low-grade right hamstring strain that he sustained from jumping for a high throw while covering first base from Alonso.
Whoops.
A high floor. I'm like, what floor was he jumping on? He's playing on a baseball field. Francisco Alvarez, Mets catcher, left Tuesday night's game for AAA Syracuse in the first inning due to dizziness that he experienced while running out a ground ball. The 23-year-old returned to the Syracuse lineup the next day as the designated hitter with no further concern. Alvarez was optioned to AAA Syracuse on Sunday due to his recent struggles with the major league team. So it's nice to see that Winker is finally on here because he's been out for a while. So that's one of the reasons why he will have a long rehab assignment, because it's been a few months since we've seen the guy. And you know what? I hope he could provide a boost to this lineup, because Jared Young finally got sent down today. That experiment was not working. So hopefully Winker could just give this lineup another element that they could use.
Yeah. I'm not going to make any jokes here, obviously, with how it has been going on for these last this year. Obviously, for Francisco Alvarez has been obviously rough on him with the injury, and then the struggles obviously in the major leagues with the dizziness that he had in AAA. Obviously, it was over a 90-degree day there, so I'm not gonna say, oh well, it's a 60-degree day and you're finding yourself dizzy. That's not great. But catching behind the plate, I don't think that is a task that you want to take on while you're dizzy. That's definitely not something that you want to do. So they definitely took the precautionary reasons. They did it. He's fine. He's back. It's whatever. And he is doing his AAA demotion, which he needed to do, folks. He needed to do. But other than that, we'll see. And then speaking of Senga, Truman Quinn saying here, Pete's, I'm guessing he's saying shitty throw to Senga killed the Mets, and McNeil's home run steal brought us back. Yeah, probably. Is it possible? I don't know. That it could be possible. Gains some momentum. They haven't lost since that home run steal by Jeff McNeil, so that was definitely big. Got the crowd back into it after a rough stretch against the Braves there. But yeah, that throw by Pete, we've had plenty of times where we're talking about Pete Alonso throwing to first base or throwing to a base. You never know. You got to hold your breath. You got to hold your breath, clench your fists, close your eyes maybe, because it's not fun. Either way, we are now at the half point out of the series, the halfway point of this season, and we are now surpassed 81 games. 81 plus 81 is 162. We are actually at 82 games technically, but this is the best way it could line up. So I am going to go into what we have seen throughout the entirety of the season so far, and the best way I can do that is to completely rank every single Met that we have seen today. In this season, not today. Today we probably will see a lot, but throughout this entirety of this season. So now I have a criteria for this, which is pretty self-explanatory here. As we shift gears here, just basing this one off of performance. And we have some sample cutoffs. So no, I'm not going to be ranking every single player that they have used, because we will be here forever. And that is 48 players that they have used this year, and only 28 of them qualify for these sample cutoffs that I have here on the screen, which are position players, 40 plate appearances to be eligible for the list this season, starting pitchers, 30 innings pitched, and then relievers, 10 innings pitched, which is usually 10 outings or 9 outings or whatever. So obviously there are some guys here that are not eligible, so I do want to point them out. Of course, some of these pieces that who played games and appeared in games, but they are not eligible for this list, so they will not be featured. Austin Warren, like we said, just sent down. AJ Minter out for the season. Blade Tidwell, he's made 2 starts. Maybe he'll be eligible in a few weeks with how the rotation's going. Chris Stevenski, he's had a few outings out of the bullpen, nothing crazy. Danny Young out for the year with Tommy John surgery. Danel Nunez just came back. Hopefully he returns to form in the second half of the season. That would be great. And stays healthy as well. Frankie Montas, like we just said, just returned. Genesis Cabrera, not even on the team anymore. Hayden Sanger just got called up as the corresponding move for Francisco Alvarez. He had a few cups of coffee here, but definitely does not qualify just yet. Jonathan Pintaro just made his major league debut in this series. Jose Azocar was actually re-signed on a minor league deal today, and he's back in the organization. Did not play that much. Jose Siri has been out for a long time. Jose Arena was here for 1 outing. He pitched like shit. but he 8 innings for us in a blowout game. It was great. Justin Garza just got here. Justin Hagenman, a few outings for him. Kevin Herget, he was here for a little bit, and he was picked up on waivers by the Braves, I believe. Paul Blackburn just got back, and I am classifying him as a starting pitcher because that's basically his role at this current moment, so he is not eligible. Rich Lovelady was just DFA'd after one outing, of course, and then Ty Adcock, he's been here for a few. Tyler Zuber had 1 outing. So those are the guys who are not eligible that they have used this year for this list, but we have 28 that we got to get through.
And you have 26 on a roster, so this will be interesting.
Yes.
But eventually you get 2 extra spots, so I mean, let's see.
You do. It's fun.
It's
very, very fun. And 30 of the 47 that they have used have been pitchers. So there's been a lot of pitchers that they have used this year. But there has been a lot of youth in the position player, not the most success. So I'm going to go through one by one, of course, give a little bit of the reasoning, nothing crazy, try to go as quickly as I can. And then after every single 7, so 28 through 22, 21, to 15, 14 to 8, and then 7 to 1. I will direct to Frank to see how he feels about the list, because I also want to give my voice a breath for a second, because there's going to be a lot that I'm going to be spewing before I do so. So as for this top 28, let's get this one started to rank this entirety of the roster of guys who qualify on this list, like we said, with that sample. So as for 28, let's start with Jared Young. There's a reason why this guy was in the KBO last year. He's just not very good, and he doesn't own a glove. He's turned into a few, about, 4 extra base hits, 3 home runs, and 44 plate appearances. He just add him to the list of bats of that the Mets have continued to use to make a joke of this DH position since it was implemented. Another one bites the dust, as Young was optioned to AAA Syracuse earlier today. Number 27, Ronnie Mauricio. Mauricio is just coming back from injury, and he's definitely struggled since coming back. Did have a good series against Atlanta, I will say, which is somewhat understandable for an inexperienced kid coming back from ACL surgery that took him over a year to recover from. We have seen some good, we have seen some bad, we've seen some ugly. He is 14 for 62 to start off the 2025 season. One promising aspect, however, he has a 831 OPS as a left-handed hitter so far, so that is definitely promising. See if he can build on that. The defense at second and third base has been fine. Nothing of note as a liability. He still has a lot to learn at the major league level, but will he reach that high ceiling? Only time will tell. Number 26, we've got Luis Angel Acuna. The only reason why he is ahead of Mauricio is because he's just played more than him so far. That's literally it. Following that exciting burst that he had onto the scene last year, it doesn't seem like Acuna will sustain those levels going forward, but he will continue to get chances at the MLB level given his tools that he provides, a plus defender in the middle infield, plus speed and great base running that could impact the game in the margins. But his bat has not been good at all. A 576 OPS and a 67 weighted runs created plus across 158 plate appearances is not going to get you much playing time. And the Mets have agreed, because they ended up optioning him to AAA Syracuse this week so he can play every day. 25, let's go to Jose Castillo. As most cash trades go, Castillo was okay in 11.1 innings pitched out of the bullpen. His ability to get 4, 5, 6 outs an appearance was valuable in a few select games, but his inability to put away hitters with runners on made him pretty unusable this past month, with hitters posting a 831 OPS against him from the stretch. As a sinker baller who needs to pitch to contact to be his most effective self, that is a big issue, especially while having reverse splits against left-handed hitters. The purpose for him just ran out, and the Mets figured as well, designating him for assignment a few days ago. Solid bullpen depth, but nothing of big note. Number 24, Brandon Waddell, another KBO legend who's actually given us a solid sample. His big appeal has been that he just doesn't walk anyone, and he can eat some innings from the bullpen. 4 of his 5 outings this season have been scoreless across 11.2 innings. More solid bullpen depth, which can also make a spot start for you if needed, which he did do this year. Number 23, turn away, Francisco Alvarez. Since coming back from surgery that repaired a fractured hamate bone in his left hand, Alvarez has struggled a lot from both sides of the ball. His swing decisions have been pretty bad. His quality of contact is still a concern. His coveted power has barely been on display. And on the defensive side, his receiving and pitch calling has noticeably regressed. His blocking is still an issue, and he's had multiple defensive blunders that have cost the Mets runs this season. Let's get one thing clear here, though. No one is giving up on Francisco Alvarez. No one is declaring him a dud at 23 years old, but the demotion to AAA Syracuse was the right decision. He needs a reset, and hopefully he can regain form when he does return. Number 22, Jesse Winker. Winker was docked down in this ranking due to the oblique injury that has kept him sidelined since the beginning of May, which is unfortunate because he was starting to swing a pretty solid bat at the time with an OPS plus standing at 111. When he gets back, Winker was one of the few Mets hitters that was succeeding with runners in scoring position, posting a 787 OPS from regularly the 5 or 6 hole in the lineup. He's not perfect by any means, but I think we can all admit that the Mets lineup really misses the depth that Winker provides. And of course, the vibes are always the 100th percentile with him. We hope to see you back soon, Jesse, as he starts his rehab assignment. So there is your first bottom 7, of course. Frank, any surprises, any guys you want to break down from their overall performance? This is not if I think they're a better player. It's all just based on what they have done in 81 games this year and 81 games alone. So, Frank, what are your thoughts on this bottom 7?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a majority of it. The 2 guys I would probably swap here, though, is Mauricio and Castillo, only because, we're talking about, like, ultimately what they provide. And the fact that Castillo is off the team, and with Mauricio, there was this like conversation of, okay, well, now the answer is coming back. Does Ronnie get sent back down? But no, they said we're going to keep Ronnie. So I feel like that says to me how the Mets value these guys. Like if they're ranking them, I feel like they're putting Mauricio over Castillo, because if that was the case, Castillo would still be here, and he's not, because we saw that blow up the other day was just unacceptable. He couldn't get a single out. He's coming in to face lefties and he's hitting batters. Like he's just been. They're trying to put him like in these very niche roles and situations, and he's still not able to have success. So, I mean, for me, I would swap it. I feel like Ronnie, I mean, he's playing multiple positions. He's been playing third and second, both not his natural positions, and like you said, he's had some struggles against lefties. He struggled with the breaking ball, but he's hit some home runs. He's had some hard hit balls. He's had some RBI hits. And that's more than Acuna could say. Like, literally the only thing Acuna has going for him is the ability to run, and the Mets don't even have him attempt that many stolen bases. And he's another one that had to get sent down because he wasn't providing enough value at this current moment, but they kept Ronnie over him. So for me, that's the one big swap I'd make. Waddell's a good shout out, though. He's like super underrated. I feel like nobody's talking about him, but to your point, a lefty long reliever who doesn't walk guys, it's not common. Like, it's not something that you really could say for any of the other Mets. So I think that's a good call. Alvarez, I mean, we'll see where his ranking is, where it's all said and done. And then for Winker, like it's so long ago since we've seen him, it's hard to remember his plate appearances with the runners in scoring position. But I mean, I think overall, I could agree on Young being in last place, and like a majority of these guys, they're in the right tier, is what I will say for sure.
Yeah. One thing I will say based on this, obviously, I mean, I'm looking at it based on performance and also with sample size. These are the guys that had some of the smallest sample size of the eligibility, so that's probably the main reason as to why. So they're all kind of in that certain group. I understand wanting to move Mauricio up, obviously, since they are seeing him as the more valuable piece right now. He just has not played that much. That's literally the only reason why I have him there. I mean, you know how high I am on Ronnie Mauricio, so it was kind of, it was kind of rough to be in that type of situation. But I understand not wanting to have Castillo there, but Castillo's had a few good outings, and he's also had some really bad. So it's more of, the consistency, the sample. What is the consistency over that sample? That's basically how I'm deciding that bottom row. So I do want to get into the third. What is it? The third 7. What would we say? Like the start of the middle 14. I don't know. Let's continue this list into number 21, which is Mark Vientos, another player who's been out recently, but will be coming back tonight against Pittsburgh. But when he was healthy, Vientos was struggling quite a bit. Although he was starting to hit a bit before his injury, it still was not on par to what we saw last year. Pitchers are bullying him with off-speed pitches this year, which he has a 59.4% whiff rate against, with a 159 expected weighted on base average. With quality of contact, he's just getting completely destroyed. He has also been one of the main culprits in the Mets lineup who is struggling with runners in scoring position, where he is 7 for 49. Along with his offensive struggles, it is carried over to third base, where he is the worst qualified defender at the position, with a -8 outs above average and a -9 defensive runs saved. With no offense comes no value from Vientos. So hopefully he can regain that form at the plate starting tonight. Number 20.
And he's DHing tonight too.
He is DHing. Yeah.
Part of it's injury, but part of it is like you can't put the worst guy out there. Like that's just not smart.
Yeah, definitely. 20, Ryan Stanek, easily the most inconsistent arm out of the entire bullpen this season. Stanek has had outings where he's making quick work of hitters, but he's also had some outings where he just completely melts down, leaving a mess for the next guy to clean up. The walks are down this year, but so are the strikeouts, leading him to struggle to miss bats at times, especially against left-handed hitters, who have a 811 OPS against him this season. Hitters are also slashing 320, 358, 440 when he pitches from the stretch. Stanek hasn't been very trustworthy in high leverage situations this year, and an arm with his explosive arsenal should be able to harvest a lot better. It just has not come at a consistent rate. Number 19, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this one, Brett Baty. Is this too low? I don't know, but I'm still just not convinced. After a brutal start to the season, Baty was optioned to AAA at the end of April. He returned in the second week of May and caught fire with 7 extra base hits, 5 home runs, 15 RBIs before the calendar flipped June. Since then, the bat has been quiet with a few singles sprinkled in and there. He did have a good series in Atlanta, I will say that. And since pounding the ball into the ground like he always has. However, there's still value here, as Brady's defense at third base has merited his playing time, regardless of his inconsistent bat, with a +2 defensive run saved and a +1 outs above average across 279 innings at third base. Baty has continued to make strides at the hot corner. Has he been good overall? Not really, but this time around, he has been rosterable. So that is good. Thumbs up, there's improvement. I don't know about that as improvement for a 25-year-old, but whatever. 18, Luis Torrens. With Alvarez struggling as much as he has, Torrens has been the indisputable better option at the position this season. Although his bat has not been good these past few weeks, his quality of contact and pitch selection is still a plus regardless, but his biggest asset, of course, is his defense, which is some of the best in all of baseball. 83rd percentile framing, 93rd percentile pop time to second base, and a major league leading 42.3% caught stealing rate since joining the Mets last season. Mets pitchers have also posted a 2.89 earned run average with Luis Torrens behind the plate this season, with a major league leading 2.74 K strikeout to walk ratio in 332.2 innings behind the plate. The impact of Luis Torrens has been massive, and all it took was $100,000. Number 17, Tyler McGill. Oh, Tyler, another year, the same old story. He got off to a hot start in the month of April, posting a 1.74 earned run average across 31 innings pitched. Then the calendar hit May, and he started to unravel like we've seen in the past. He'd run the pitch count high, striking out plenty of batters, but walking plenty as well. Base runners piled up. He can't handle it, leading to his patented blow-up inning and his dishonorable exit from the game. We all know it's mental, but I guess it's easy to say that this is just what he is at this point. He has arguably some of the best stuff in the entire pitching staff. However, stuff isn't graded with a strike zone. McGill is the lesson that basically everyone should have learned by now when it comes to sports, that talent does not mean a thing unless you execute the right way. We'll see if McGill can find some consistency when he gets back from the injured list, but I think we all know the story by now. And as a wise man once said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times makes me a dumbass. That wise man is on the screen, by the way, and I know he agrees. Number 16, Jose Butto. On the surface, Butto has had a solid season with a 2.59 earned run average across 41.2 innings pitched. However, he has struggled to strand inherited runners, making him unusable for a good stretch of the season. His tendencies to lose command have also been detrimental as well, with a lot of the hits that he has surrendered this year being with 2 strikes. However, Butto has really picked it up this past month and a half, stranding base runners at a much higher clip and throwing a lot more strikes. With the Mets bullpen transactions every day over the past few months due to injuries, Butto has been a crucial piece with his ability to go multiple innings. He hasn't been as sharp as he was last year, but he's been sharper as of late, which is encouraging because he was coming towards DFA territory for me at one point in my eyes this year. Number 15, Starling Marte. Marte started this year slow, but it seemed like he settled into his role as of recently. Is it still awful roster allocation to be paying a 36-year-old $20 million to be a platoon DH with limited power? Absolutely. Is he a shell of what he once was? 100%. But Marte has been productive enough to merit ABs, especially with a 114 weighted runs created plus with runners in scoring position this year on a team that is desperately needed. It's awful value for what he's getting paid, but we all know the clubhouse likes him, so I guess that counts for something in the last year of his contract. I don't know. Is he holding up this lineup from rostering better hitting talent? Most likely, but it hasn't been so bad to a point where we are having Robinson Cano levels of buyout discussions just yet. So there is your next 7, the bottom 14, I guess, the bottom half. I don't know. I'm running out of terminology here, but Frank, checking in here, what do you think of these next 7?
It's the disappointing tier for a lot of these guys. It's the underwhelming tier for a lot of these guys because going into the season, Vientos was not supposed to be number 21. Stanek was not supposed to be number 20. I mean, these guys were supposed to be quite a bit better. The one guy I think could probably move up a little bit is Beatty. I feel like Beatty, I mean, when you look at the totality of the season, he's gotten some good things done for this Mets team. I mean, he has 2 more home runs than Vientos has in less plate appearances. So I think that's definitely been encouraging. It's been surprising to see Beatty generate that kind of power. Overall, he still isn't doing enough offensively consistently. And defensively, he's made a bunch of plays. I mean, he's done it a lot at third base. He's looked much better over there than last season. He's made plenty of starts at second base. So, I mean, that's another boost as far as the value he's giving when ranking everybody. With Torrens, the recent play, not offensively, but some of the past ball stuff we've been seeing and trying to pick up baseballs using catcher masks and like these mental mistakes have kind of, for me, I would lower him a little bit. Like I would probably swap Beatty and McGill.
Would you put him at 24?
Put who at 24?
Torrens?
No, I wouldn't put. No. He's been better than Alvarez this season. I'll agree with that, but I just think that lately. It hasn't been great. And then for McGill too, I mean, just what we saw leading up to his injury was very frustrating. I mean, it was going on, more than just a couple starts. Like it was quite a while that we're seeing him struggle. And for Stanek, it stinks to see him that low because we know how good he was in the postseason last year. So it's like you want him to be higher, but we look at how the season has gone, you just can't quite do it. So this definitely is the disappointing tier. I'm glad that Buteau on there has been looking better recently. And overall for Marte to be, when it's all said and done right now, above average offensively, above league average, like you said, you'll take that with how this offense has been with his age. You like that, but like you said, you'd like to see more power. But overall, I mostly agree with it. Again, everyone who's in this tier at least belongs this year. Would I change up the order a little bit? Probably, but overall, like this is where these guys should be related to the rest of the team.
Yeah, which is fine, which is the main reason as to why I'm putting these in sections a little bit, because it just makes a lot better. Beatty, if you want to put him higher, you can definitely put him higher. I think that he's definitely earned the right to be above Vientos and Alvarez, because he's definitely shown the most this season. But also, Ibby's in the chat as well, and that just makes it more merit, to put Beatty at just 19. That's kind of how I feel. It's like, with his eyes on the show as of right now, as we are currently, that makes everything okay to piss off Ibby, putting Beatty as low as I did. So that's fine. But it's still very inconsistent with the bat. I'm really still very puzzled when it comes to him. He's been better though. He's been rosterable, like I said. And then of course, Budo, he's been better than McGill, but he's been in and out as well. McGill, what the hell are we even going to do with this guy? It's just the same story every single year. I mean, all of these guys can be interchangeable if you see in these tiers. Obviously, when we get a little bit higher now into this top 14 or the top half of it, there's a little bit more debates going on, and maybe there might be a little bit of controversy. I don't know. We'll see how this one evens out, but we'll get to number 14 here. And it kind of hurts to put him as low as it must, because this is my guy here, but Brandon Nimmo. After dealing with plantar fasciitis for majority of last year, Nimmo started his season extremely rough. Although his batted ball data is still promising, he just was not Nimmo. Just a lot of swinging first pitch, late on fastballs, chasing breaking balls, and some brutal situational hitting. And then the Mets realized, hey, Brandon Nimmo isn't a cleanup hitter. And since being moved over to the 2-hole, Nimmo has been great in that position with a 1,009 OPS batting second, and he has a 136 weighted runs created plus since May 1st. Even though he hasn't been the best situationally, like he's been throughout his entire career, he just looks more comfortable in the top 3 of that lineup as one of the 4 Mets hitters with 15 plus home runs this season. It's great to see Nimmo getting back to what makes him such a catalyst for the Mets offense since the very beginning. Number 13, Max Kranick. Kranick was one of the keys to the Mets' success to begin the season. His ability to go multiple innings and walk very few. He really excelled at forming the bridge to the back end of the Mets bullpen. However, the lack of swings and misses definitely started to catch up to Kranick as we got into late May. Has he been overworked? Very likely, considering the fact that he's currently on the injured list. We'll see if he can regain form when he gets healthy, because length out of the bullpen is extremely important in 162-game season. Number 12, Griffin Canning. It's very possible that Canning has thrown his final pitch as a Met due to the heartbreaking injury that he suffered last night, but he still does deserve his flowers, posting a 3.77 earned run average across 76.1 innings pitched. Canning has looked like the steal of free agency to start the year. Although he has struggled a bit over his past few starts, he's done a really good job limiting his career-long weakness with the long ball, with a career low in home runs per 9 and a career high in ground ball rate. His peripherals aren't the best, but he's really utilized his secondaries to get chases on his changeup and his slider, while also adding a extra inch of induced vertical break on his fastball that has touched 96 to 97 this season. For 4.2 $2.5 million. Canning has been phenomenal in the Mets rotation. He's definitely a tough loss to an already depleted staff. We wish you the speediest of recoveries, Griffin. Your contributions will not be missed. As we get to number 11, another starter, Clay Holmes. The transition to him being a full starter has come with a little bit of growing pains, but Holmes has handled it well so far this season with a 2.97 earned run average across 88 innings pitched this year. Holmes' utilization of his new kick changeup has been a key to putting away hitters. Although he's run into some home run trouble over this past month, he's done a very good job of limiting the damage afterwards. We'll see how he responds to the workload down the stretch of the season, but you definitely can write in a quality outing from Holmes every 5 days so far, minus that one outing that he had in Atlanta, which was not good. Number 10, Tyrone Taylor. His stat line may not always be flashy, but he makes a positive impact some way or another. Taylor is what we call a winning ball player. He's used his toolsy play style to fill in the margins with great defensive range, a strong and accurate arm with plus speed and base running. Taylor has held his own as the Mets' everyday center fielder all season. He doesn't really have to hit to contribute, but with his great line drive hitting, he's done a decent job at setting up the top of the order at some times amid the struggles past the top four. He has posted a 735 OPS with runners in scoring position, and he has a 239 weighted runs created plus in high leverage situations this year. Taylor is not a star by any means in this game, but he has proved a lot. He has provided a lot of what this team lacks. Number 9, Jeff McNeil. Has he been great? Yes. Has he made some great adjustments? Yes. Does he deserve credit? No, because this is my show and I do whatever I want. So fuck you. Either way, McNeil has been great since coming back from injury. He has been pulling line drives and he has also been walking at a career high rate. Will the power numbers hold up? Probably not, but it seems like we've grown past this happy, slappy, max contact version of Jeff where he was just wasting away potential damage. Happy and slappy. I don't know. He's even started to hit with runners in scoring position too recently, which has been great to see from the middle of the lineup. He's also been playing some center field, a position that he hasn't played until this year, which he's held his own at so far, including that great catch that he made during this series against the Braves. Jeff, I'll never be your biggest fan, but as long as you're a Met, I will continue to root for you. You do something well, I will give you your credit. At number 8, Huascar Brazaban. Talk about a Swiss Army knife. Brazaban has been tossed into nearly every assignment imaginable this season, and he's passed nearly with flying colors. Even opening games twice this season as well, with his ability to go multiple innings. He's gone through a bit of a tough stretch over this past week or two, but it's very possible that he's been overworked, already tossing 42 innings and appearing in 33 of the 82 regular season games this season so far. Although the control of the strike zone can be iffy at times, Brazaban really excels at expanding the zone, most of that having to do with his hard-fading changeup and cutter, which he loves to throw to right-handed hitters, while inducing ground balls at a career-high rate this year, with hitters registering a 288 expected weighted on-base average against his sinker. He's got great stuff. He just has to throw strikes, and the results will come. So there you go. There's your bottom 21. Math, I guess, the next tier, the second tier of performers. This one might cause a little bit more controversy of the bottom half. Frank, I will go over to you. Bring it to me. I can take it.
Some thoughts here. Nimmo, why is he not like towards the top? I am quite confused on this one. I think when you look at the overall season he's having, he's got 15 home runs. He's at OPS plus of 119. I mean, he's been quite a bit above league average. And to your point, batting him 2, it's continuing to improve. So this is a guy that I think is a quick riser right now with how he's performing.
Sure.
And I feel like for Kranick, you're underestimating a little bit how much he was struggling leading up to his injury. I mean, this guy was becoming a little bit of a home run derby, 5 home runs given up this season. And it just felt like he was having a tough time like stringing together back-to-back solid outings. Like it just felt like a lot of times Kranick was coming in and he just wasn't able to get the job done. I would argue that more recently, Buteau has been better than Kranick. I would personally move Kranick over to the tier over. And then with Canning, same thing. I mean, he was struggling a lot the past month or so. I would definitely not rank him above Nimmo. And then for Taylor, we value some different things because defensively, I mean, he's been insanely good, phenomenal. But it's a hard to sell me when I'm looking at what he does offensively because you got to play both sides of the ball here, so to speak. And when you're looking at OPS plus of 76, hitting 224, that's tough. I mean, you're telling me just for defense, he's ranked 4 slots above Nimmo. I can't buy that. Where Nimmo at least is giving me average defense while still giving me very solid offense. So I think that overall, Nimmo is a more valuable piece. And another reason for that, who's starting in center field tonight and way too often? Jeff McNeil. If Taylor was that amazing, they would find a way to put him in center field no matter what. But far too often, they're putting McNeil in center field instead, but Nimmo always out there and left. So for me, I just think Nimmo needs to be way higher. And then for Brazoban, he's been struggling quite a bit lately. He was so good earlier in the year, but he is just, I mean, that outing, like we mentioned the other night, 3 walks. I mean, he couldn't throw a strike. It was just really frustrating. But overall, I mean, there are some guys here that I think could use some shuffling. We value different things in how we rank them. It's not that, and it's like some people value defense more than offense, but I just think that when we're talking about such below league average offensively, I can't put him top 10. I just can't do it. That's me.
That's fine.
Especially wearing number 15 in center field. Like, you got to give me at least a little more.
Oh, I should have put him 3 then. That's what the hell? Jeez. Listen, I understand wanting to put Nimmo a little bit higher, obviously, with him playing as good as he is. The thing that I have here, the problem that I've had here, obviously, and you know how much I love Nimmo. We all know how I'm a big Nimmo fan. I will defend him to the end here. I'm still just not seeing that guy who's making the impact winning plays the way that he usually does. And when you look at it of a way that I like to kind of like sort things out of the impact that he has with the team compared to a guy like Taylor, who has been doing very well in that department, win probability added is a good way to look at that. This is the first time he's ever been in the negatives in his career. It just hasn't been great. He hasn't been great with the runners in scoring position. He was one of the culprits. Obviously, he's been a little bit better recently. And then also there's just been a lot of situations this year where I'm just not seeing the winning ball player that I know Brandon Nimmo is in these certain situations that comes through and is a catalyst at the top of the lineup. Would he be a lot higher? Probably down the stretch of the season at the pace that he's going. Absolutely. But with Taylor, this is, I mean, to plead his case, the guy's in the middle of everything every single night. And I feel like there's been so many instances.
But if he's not, if they're not starting him consistently, he can't be that important if they're taking him out of the lineup for McNeil in center field, where it's McNeil center field is not good, yet they still keep doing it. So
he still has the 300 plate appearances. So again, I put McNeil ahead of him, who's had less.
But also that's partially because of the Jose Siri injury and the way this team is constructed, where the only guy playing center is McNeil, who is the furthest thing from a center field. Like he is.
He looked like one in this series.
Yeah, sure. He has got fortunate circumstances that like there's no other true center fielder on this team, that he's kind of been their only option. And it doesn't really matter how bad he does offensively because of and the defense has been great. He's had some big moments. Don't get me wrong. He's done stuff on the bases. I mean, that's all been great. But I think overall he would be starting more if he was a top 10 player on the team.
I don't know. I think Taylor deserves a lot more of the flowers of what he does in the margins for this team. The only reason why I'm valuing it so much is because of how little we have of it. And I think that's the main
He
reason as to
provides a different
why.
element. I mean,
Yes, he
he
definitely
does
does.
stuff
Yeah,
on the roster that other guys don't do. He has some uniqueness. I mean,
yeah,
there's definitely too much redundancy with a lot of other players. So I will give you that. He does provide something
yeah.
that they do need that is different.
But I understand not wanting to have him as high, obviously, with him not playing every day. But the way that he's held it down and has
But I'm more
always
concerned with
impacted the game.
Kranick and Canning.
Oh,
That's a
okay,
tongue twister. But
Kranich.
those two guys are just no.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've had a lot of
because even
the
Krennic was
long
getting like
guys.
sent
Yeah,
down and called back
true.
up. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't put
He
him
also
over
had that
Monroe.
phenomenal start to the season, though.
He
That's the
did,
thing.
and it really just kind of it
It's
fizzled off.
reliever inconsistency. So I
Yeah.
literally could literally put Budo ahead of him very, very easily. I could put Kranick ahead of him and Kranick ahead of this guy and this guy and that. And to be honest, a lot of this team, it's really, really hard to judge it in comparison because a lot of this team this last week, all of them have been like everybody in every department has been struggling. So you kind of had to edge it out, and I think that you definitely got a good amount of value from Kranick, who definitely was a savior for an offense that was not performing at the start of the season. But we'll see what happens going forward if he comes back healthy. We know that he's had some injury issues in the past as well. But that's kind of how I would put this second tier here. Brazaban, I can see why recently he doesn't deserve to be in that high. But again, the impact of so many different situations that they have put him in and completely overworking him, obviously. I definitely do think that he still deserves a lot of the recognition. So the top 7, obviously, we've narrowed it down to a lot of guys who will definitely be in this tier. So if you can see by process of elimination, we will try to put them as we can, going off of full 81 games, like I've said. So these guys have, obviously maybe struggled recently, but they've had good seasons overall. So let's go into another guy who has had a few rough outings, but he's been really good overall this season. And number 7, Reed Garrett. Garrett has been the fireman of the bullpen all season, excelling at inducing ground balls and executing very well from the stretch with his elite ability to expand the zone and get timely swings and misses with 4+ pitches. Garrett has blossomed into one of the best high leverage arms in baseball. Although he can lose the strike zone at times, his signature split finger has the highest whiff rate of any off-speed pitch in all of baseball at 46.2%. He's had a few rough outings, but Garrett has been nails out of the Mets bullpen this season overall after 81 games. Number 6, I know this is going to come into a recency biased battle, but Juan Soto. We can't deny that Soto started this year off a little bit rough, but it seems like he is back to his usual form. Generational shit-wrecking bat with 40 home run power, elite pitch selection, elite plate discipline, and recognition. It's pretty simple what needed to happen. He needed to lift the baseball. That was it. A 55.4% ground ball rate in April, a 752 OPS. A 50.8% ground ball rate in May, a 771 OPS. A 35.5% ground ball rate in June, a 1238 OPS. Pretty simple. And he's also been one of the biggest culprits with this team with runners in scoring position, and we're still waiting for that signature moment of him in that Mets uniform. But he's Juan Soto. That moment will come sooner rather than later. Number 5, Edwin Diaz. After managing to not blow a single save while being very, very shaky to start off the season, Edwin has officially regained his form. Is he throwing as hard as he once did? No. Is he striking out hitters as he once did? No, but he's still topping the 98-99 every night and striking out 37.2% of batters he has faced this season. Diaz is back to fooling hitters, registering a 43.8% whiff rate with a 193 expected weighted on base average for quality of contact against his patented razor blade slider. He is also inducing a high ground ball rate, which is career high for him at 52.5%. And he has not surrendered a single extra base hit since April 21st. His walk rate is now under 10% once again. I think we can declare Edwin Diaz as officially back. Edwin, you know you're my number one. I will never give up on you. Number 4, speaking of giving up, and I shouldn't have, David Peterson. With all the Mets starting pitching injuries over the past few seasons, Peterson has been the rock of the Mets rotation. Since undergoing hip surgery 2 years ago, he has developed into a fantastic major league starter. Although his peripherals aren't dazzling, Peterson has taken contact management to a different level, inducing ground balls at a 57.2% rate this season and expanding the zone at a career best. He has gone 6+ innings pitched in more in 11 of his 15 starts this season, including a complete game shutout against the Nationals 2 weeks ago, and with a 2.98 earned run average across 90.2 innings pitched. The Mets' former first-round pick might be bidding for his first All-Star selection. He definitely has earned that consideration. Number 3, Kodai Senga. We definitely dodged a bullet with the severity of his injury, but he will be back soon. But when he was on the field, Senga has been excellent, posting a 1.47 earned run average across 73.2 innings pitched. He's shown exactly what the Mets missed last season and remind us how good of a pitcher he really is. Although he does allow some base runners, hitters have posted just a 569 OPS against him from the stretch. His signature ghost fork has been as dominant as ever with a 41.5% whiff rate with a 202 expected weighted on base average on 28.9% usage. The Mets rotation definitely misses him, and we hope to get him back real soon. And at number 2, we get to Francisco Lindor. Yes, I know he has slowed down since that toe injury that he has been playing through, but his high pain tolerance is one of the main reasons why Lindor is such a special player. For the first time in a long time, our star shortstop didn't get off to a slow start, slashing .265, .333, .458 with a 122 weighted runs created plus, and still on pace for a 6-win season, contending for another 30-30. Loose bodies in his elbow, back spasms, broken pinky toe. Nothing will ever stop Lindor from taking the field for your favorite team, Mets fans. Do not forget that the next time you want to criticize him when he is in one of his slumps. Is this the year where he finally gets the All-Star nod as a Met? It looks like it will. However, I do believe that there is still some room for him to be better going forward. And after that 28-game streak of Mets wins with a Lindor homer, he still has to kick it into gear. Knowing him, he most likely will. Now, obviously, through process of elimination, I think we all know who number 1 is, and that being Pete Alonso. What hasn't been said already? He's top 10 among NL hitters in batting average, on-base percentage, isolated power, slugging, OPS plus, extra base hits, home runs, RBIs, weighted runs created plus, and he's on pace for a 5-win season at first base, which is not easy to do. It's great to have our top run producer back because the Mets offense would be nothing without him. After being a complete liability in the category last year, Alonso has flipped the script in 2025, posting a league-leading 1,188 OPS with runners in scoring position. He seems like the only guy in this lineup that has been coming through when it matters consistently. Although he has slowed down a little bit over these past few weeks, we all know that Alonso is running quite the tab for his second try on the opening market this winter. So there it is, the top 28 that I have. so far through 81 games. Frank, obviously, in totality, or just the top 7, whatever you want to break it down with. And then we'll obviously preview this next series coming up in Pittsburgh, which is about to kick off in about an hour.
It's actually in like 20 minutes. It's a 6:40 game, I believe. They're starting, or whatever it is. But I think it could be at 7 with a little bit of rain that's been going on over there. So we'll see what the final time is. But overall, for this part of the list, I actually would move Soto up. I mean, he's been so ridiculous this stretch in June that his OPS right now is 898. Like, this is a guy that is hovering 900 OPS. So he's got to get his way into the top 5 some way, somehow. And I am shocked that you put David Peterson 4. I wish we could have predicted that when the season began, but he's been very consistent for them. However, his numbers between him and Clay Holmes are not this big of a gap. I mean, Clay Holmes's numbers, Clay Holmes actually 0.1 better ERA than Peterson. But the impact has been good. But I think overall, statistically, he's not this much higher than Holmes, not higher than Soto, and he's definitely not above Diaz, because with Diaz, I'm looking at a guy below 2 ERA, and then with Senga right next to him, when Senga is a full WAR point higher than David Peterson. So, I mean, Peterson's been great, but I think compared to where he's ranked everyone else, he's the one guy that I think he gets swapped. Garrett's got to have a lot of big jams. He's ahead of Brosbon. I agree with that. So overall, I mean, that's just like the one tweak I made here. I think Soto's just been so solid that you want to move him to like 4, maybe 3 if he continues the trajectory he's on. Sure. And if Soto could do what he's capable of, he really could get that top spot. With Lindor, though, I think this toe thing is bothering him. I feel like there's a correlation between he's playing good, but he's just not on that elite level that we know he's capable of. And I think that toe is certainly bothering him. And it makes sense. I mean, if you have something fractured in your foot, like, it makes baseball more challenging for sure.
Yeah. The only argument I would put out here for David Peterson to Clay Holmes, which, again, I understand the gap. I definitely do, because they both have been very consistent starters so far this season. Volume. Peterson has just been, I mean, annihilating innings. I mean, he is, like I said, I mean, what was it, 6+ innings pitched in like 11 of his 15 starts. Obviously, the big complete game shutout as well. I mean, he's just been dogging it out there.
Peterson has 2 more innings than Holmes, but Holmes has 1 more start. So, I mean, overall, it probably equates to like maybe 7 more innings or so. So, I mean, and part of that was that 1 complete game that Peterson threw, but also Clay Holmes is transitioning to becoming a starting pitcher too.
Yeah,
as a relief.
Every inning matters. Personally, I think that when
especially
we're
right
about
now.
It, obviously,
I agree with that.
As of right now, obviously. But yeah, there is my top 28. I'm sure there's going to be people that'll backlash me. Maybe I'll post it on Twitter just for more Warzone. But yeah, there it is, right there. My top 28 for this 47 guys through 81 games so far, halfway through the season. I thought that was the best way to kind of describe everything and run everything down of what has happened so far this season. So I'm glad that we agree on the tiers, at least for the most part, which is good, which is kind of the best way to kind of split things up. But, you know, we all have our opinions. We can all exist in any way. Okay. Anyways, let's get into this series, which, like you said, was going to start in about 20 minutes. It looks like it's going to be delayed a little bit to 7 p.m. It looks like you put 7 a.m.
That's what
in the
Pirates tweeted. So
okay, so
it
Pirates
said
begin
at approximately 7 p.m. So
okay, cool. I'm sure the Pirates are running a great establishment. Anyways, we won't get into it.
Well, anyway. We kind of are. We're previewing them right now.
Yeah, we'll preview them right now. Okay, cool. Let's get into this series in Pittsburgh, a team that the Mets should be beating. That would be great. But this 3-game set going over to Pittsburgh, like we said, it'll be at 7:00 tonight. David Peterson, number 4 on the list just now, will be making the start tonight. looking to shake off that rough outing that he had against Philly, which was very uncharacteristic of him, giving up the home run ball, which we have not seen for a long time. And he will face the veteran right-hander who could be on my list to maybe make a move for at the deadline, Mitch Keller. First pitch will be at 7 p.m., obviously with the update from the Pirates on SNY. And then tomorrow you'll get Paul Blackburn. Paul Blackburn will get the start. Hopefully he can go a little bit deeper into the game. That would be awesome against a Pirates offense that is not the best. And they will face the lefty Bailey Falter, who's having a pretty decent season. That will be tomorrow at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time on SNY. And in Game 3, Frankie Montas will look to build off of his great Mets debut that he had, where he pitched 5 scoreless innings, and they will face off against Mike Burrows, who I do not know that much about, but he's starting Game 3. I'm sure we'll learn a lot when he pitches 8 scoreless innings against us in the last game, and it will be at 1:35 p.m. Eastern Time, this time on Pix or Pix 11, or however you want to deal it out. So we are going into a series with the Pirates. The Mets, I'm pretty sure, took 2 out of 3 from them, and they kind of like dogged that last game. It was more of just because a lot of the rain was the turnover, but I would like to see them sweep this series because I know they're capable of it. Would be nice, but there are some things we can go forward here with this Pittsburgh Pirates team. They're not great, but they've got some highlights on that team. They got some good pieces. Frank, you can give a little bit of a rundown on that. Obviously, off to Pittsburgh, which has definitely been kind of a house of horrors for us, a miniature house of horrors a lot recently. Yeah. There's been a few blow-ups there. One thing that's coming to mind, the Taijuan Walker just staring at a baseball and just letting it go out of play. That was when I sold my stock on him, by the way. I hope you know that was the linchpin moment. Either way.
That was a good one because the stocks definitely plummeted at that moment. So hopefully you're able to get it out before everyone else did. But overall, I mean, listen, this Pirates team is in last place. They stink. I mean, there's no other way around it. Mitch Keller, he's an interesting player because he has talent. We've seen it. He's pitched well against Mets plenty of times, but his win-loss record this season is 1-10. Yeah. I mean, he has 1 win, 10 losses.
That's a bad team for you.
Yeah, that is just crazy. Fortunately, the Mets will not be seeing Paul Skeens in this series. That is very helpful because that's like the one really good thing the Pirates have going for. Even his win-loss record is 4-7, despite having a 2.12 ERA. Like, again, that's just how brutal Pittsburgh has been offensively, and even in the bullpen to a certain extent. And when you're looking at guys who are like above league average offensively, you have Nick Gonzalez, who's been playing pretty good lately. You have McCutchen, who's barely above league average. And then O'Neal Cruz is just so hit or miss that even though he has like high stolen base numbers and he hits some home runs, very far home runs, hits the ball very hard, he just far too often just doesn't hit the ball to begin with. So, I mean, this is like crazy. It says that O'Neal Cruz has 26 stolen bases and 103 strikeouts. Like, his numbers are just all over the place. He's just a very interesting player. And other than that, like, that's all they have going for them offensively. Brian Reynolds has not been good. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa kicked the Mets' butt in Citi Field when the Mets faced them earlier this season. So I am curious to see how they go about that and if he does it again, because he's not a great hitter. He's not a good hitter this season either, but he gave the Mets fits. So we'll kind of see how that shakes out. But overall, this is a series that you should win, and you kind of have to win with how the Mets have been playing lately. The struggles, like we said, against Philly, the Braves, the Rays, like, you got to take advantage here. You really need to put together a strong series here. I mean, in all departments would be great, but I want to see something happen here. I'm fascinated with the lineup tonight because they are batting Vientos, Beatty, and Mauricio back to back. So, I mean, it's kind of like this position battle we're seeing for third base, plus second base, plus DH. So these guys are all going to be competing against one another as far as playing time and who's going to be starting. So I am fascinated to see how it maybe motivates these guys and who puts together the best at-bats.
Yeah, this sounds like this O'Neal Cruz character here. Obviously, we know he's got quite a ceiling. We know, he's still very young, but this sounds like someone that David Peterson could bully into oblivion.
He
Because
so a lot of times he
yeah,
doesn't even start against lefties because his
yeah,
splits are so drastic.
yeah.
So I mean, does he even get to face him? I think will be a pretty interesting question.
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure the second highest win value player on this team is Dennis Santana, who I think is suspended for going
Oh,
after
he's the one that went
fans
for
or
the
whatever.
jumping punch. Yeah.
Yeah. He was definitely trying to, go crazy. So he's second on the team and wins above replacement at 1.6. So that's basically telling you how rough it has been offensively for this team, with bullpen arms being in the top 5 for your team and wins above replacement. Like we've said, I mean, this entire lineup has been underperforming completely. Adam Frazier is back with them. Well, surprise. I
Yeah.
actually did not know that. He's been terrible. Alex Canario, who everybody loved in spring training, has been probably the worst hitter on the team coming off their bench. Henry Davis, former number 1 overall pick, has been just dreadful. Yeah, Nick Gonzalez, like you said, he has had a really good season, but we all know that the Pirates have had some pests against the Mets where guys catch fire. These guys are, they're finding their pitch and they're absolutely destroying them. But this is a lineup that the Mets should shut down. I'm hoping that they do and they don't bullshit around it, especially when you're looking at this. Especially when you're looking at this lineup that they have, where I'm looking at their starting players who have gotten the most plate appearances, the top 9 here. The best OPS plus is a 38-year-old Andrew McCutchen, 37. So again,
38.
38 years old. So obviously we all loved Kutch in his day, but he's not the same player that he was. Great to see him back in Pittsburgh, of course, for the nostalgic reasons, but nothing crazy. Obviously, this rotation is also has some injuries to it as well. We know Jarrett Jones is out for a substantial amount of time. They have another guy getting Tommy John surgery. One thing that we're talking about on the broadcast, David Bednar has started to pick it up. As of recent, he struggled to start the season, but it seems like he's coming back to that form. Yeah.
In the past,
He's
been
coming
really
back
good.
to that form. Yeah. And then Colin Holderman, did they release him? I don't know. He hasn't really been that good. Our former guy here.
I believe he is still employed by them, but
Okay.
I mean, he does
Is
have a
he?
9 ERA, so it hasn't been going
Yikes.
well for him. He's currently on the injured list.
He's on the injured list. Okay. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. Okay. So definitely some pieces to look out for on this team, but overall, not great. It isn't great. Their bullpen has a few solid pieces in it. Obviously, David Bednar, like we said, Dennis Santana has been great, but he's suspended, I believe. Caleb Ferguson has had a solid season, so their bullpen is definitely okay. But in one department with one team, usually you have a strength, and that most likely is their bullpen, with their offense being so bad. Predictions for this series, I think that they're going to take 2 out of 3. I want them to sweep, though. I do want them to sweep because this is a team they should be sweeping.
Yeah, I'm saying sweep because they should sweep. I mean, the Pirates stink. Like, you have to do it. I mean, there's no, you're not facing Skeens. Like, to me, there's no excuse. None.
Yeah.
Like, they should.
Yeah, Daniel Cap said in the chat earlier saying, I'm worried about Keller tonight. He is no scrub. He isn't. He's a pretty good pitcher. So.
He is tough. And he's like Mac Dode said, I mean, he pitched against the Mets pretty good when he does face them. So we'll see. But I think overall the Pirates just might kind of stink it up to where, I mean, he's 1-10 for a reason. Like, they, no matter what, even if Keller does pitch good, they still find ways to lose. So
yeah,
that's just how it should be.
Yeah, that's what bad teams do, and they got to take advantage of it. So we'll see if the Mets, if they end up maybe winning this series by the fact that their offense exploded, or they win by the fact that the Pirates just stink. Who knows? That was the reason why they won that Pirates series back at Citi Field, was because the Pirates were just not good with their offense underperforming. So hopefully there's something that they can find in consistency there. But other than that,
don't stink more than them, because they already stink.
Don't outstink
them.
Don't
be worse than them. That's really it.
Yeah. don't outstink them. Don't outstink the stink. That's what we ask. It may be catchy, but it's a very important saying. Let's just say that it's a very, very important quote for the Mets continuing their consistency. Hopefully they can build on these last 2 games that they were able to take from the Braves, who they really struggled against. We'll see what happens again. But again, this is a team that they got to beat. Milwaukee is going to be an interesting matchup, obviously, from last year, of course, but Milwaukee's having another solid season. And then they got the Yankees, of course, coming over to Citi Field, which is always fun. So we will see what happens going forward. The Mets have a really tough stretch ahead of them with a lot of injuries that they're going to have to cover up for. Griffin Canning, we wish you the best. If this is the last time we've seen you, I saw a report that
he's not going into the grave. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see him.
We'll see him in the dugout. Okay, yeah,
uniform.
I know he's not dead, but the last time we see you on the mound, there you go. Last time we see you on
as
the
a
mound.
Met,
Sorry,
but he should still
as a Met
to get in the major leagues.
Yeah, he'll still. I'm sure he'll find somewhere else after he had a really good, solid start to the season. But get well soon. And we're obviously rooting for him. And then also the rest of the rotation get well soon as well, because there's
the whole team get well.
The whole team stop dying. That's all we ask. No, I don't want. Yeah,
I don't
want to start the show with a key injury. That's what I don't want to, because I feel like we've done that at least 5 times in this last month. So
I'm looking at the Pirates lineup tonight. O'Neal Cruz not in, right? But you do have Tommy Pham batting leadoff. And you do have Alexander Canario batting 8th in center
so
field.
Tommy Pham, first pitch, home run. Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting game. Let's just leave it at that.
I forgot how bad Tommy Pham's been. I forgot.
Yeah. I remember. Brutal. I've been paying close attention.
You've been okay. Yeah. But with the Mets, he got us a good return. So
he's
you
gonna
can't
start
get mad
swinging
about
next. If you thought Dennis Santana was bad, Pham is next.
Woo.
So.
Yeah,
Pham better bring your helmet.
Pham's got an edge to him.
Yeah.
Pham definitely does have an edge to him. Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's been brutal. 62 OPS plus. God, he's been rough. Okay. Anyways, so is the entire Pirates lineup. So we will send you guys out to Pittsburgh. Yeah, he's batting leadoff. Yeah, that basically shows you the depth of this Pirates lineup, of how rough it has been for them this year. But either way, we'll send you guys out to Pittsburgh, which is a little bit delayed. It'll start off at 7 p.m. Eastern time for the first game. David Peterson, we turn to you, our rock of the rotation. Can't believe I'm saying that 2 years later. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel and turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Follow us on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant reactions after every single game in the regular season, titled The Mets Frankly Post Game. Follow all of us individually, including our third Mike, Andrew, who's not here. And finally, of course, let's go Mets, and we will see you guys next time.